The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on Ridgewood Springs, a small town nestled between rust-colored mesas and endless stretches of desert highway. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where secrets were currency, and where appearances mattered more than truth. Emma Grace Holloway had learned this lesson the hard way over the past 2 years since her mother, Sarah Holloway, had married Derek Mitchell. On this particular Thursday afternoon in late September, Emma sat in the back seat of Derek's black Mercedes SUV, her small hands clutching her worn backpack. The air conditioning hummed softly, but it did nothing to cool the anxiety that had become her constant companion. At 9 years old, Emma had developed an uncanny ability to make herself invisible, a survival skill she'd perfected in Derek's household. "Stay in the car," Derek commanded, his voice sharp as broken glass. He didn't look at her through the rearview mirror, didn't acknowledge her presence beyond that single instruction. Emma nodded silently, even though he couldn't see her. They had pulled into an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, far from the pristine shopping districts and manicured neighborhoods where Derek conducted his legitimate business. The building loomed before them, its corrugated metal walls scarred with rust and graffiti. This wasn't the first time Derek had brought her to strange locations, always with the same command: stay in the car, don't move, don't ask questions. Emma watched as Derek stepped out of the vehicle, straightening his expensive suit jacket. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered, with silver hair that gave him an air of distinguished authority. Everyone in Ridgewood Springs respected Derek Mitchell, the successful real estate developer, the generous donor to local charities, the pillar of the community. Only Emma and her mother knew the monster that lived beneath that polished exterior. Through the tinted windows, Emma saw 3 other vehicles arrive: a white van, a pickup truck, and a sleek sports car. Men emerged from each vehicle, their faces hard and weathered. Derek shook hands with them, and together they disappeared into the warehouse through a rusted side door. Emma knew she should stay put. She knew the rules. But curiosity, that dangerous, relentless force that Derek had tried so hard to beat out of her, whispered in her ear. What was Derek doing here? Why all the secrecy? She counted to 100, then to 200. The desert wind whistled through the gaps in the warehouse walls, carrying with it the scent of creosote and dust. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs as she carefully opened the car door, wincing at the soft click of the latch. The heat hit her immediately, a wall of dry, scorching air that made her squint. Moving as quietly as possible, Emma crept toward the warehouse. Her sneakers barely made a sound on the gravel-strewn ground. She found a gap in the metal siding, a tear just large enough for her to peek through, and pressed her eye against it. What she saw made her blood turn to ice. Inside the warehouse, illuminated by harsh fluorescent lights hanging from chains, Derek stood beside rows and rows of wooden crates. One crate lay open, revealing stacks of plastic-wrapped packages. But it wasn't the packages that terrified Emma. It was the guns, dozens of them arranged on a long table, gleaming under the lights. Assault rifles, handguns, ammunition boxes stacked like building blocks. "The shipment from Phoenix arrived yesterday," one of the men said, his voice carrying across the empty space. "Same route, same contact, no problems." Derek picked up one of the rifles, examining it with the same careful attention he gave to property deeds and contracts. "And the distribution network? Solid. We've got buyers lined up from Tucson to Albuquerque. The cops won't touch us. You've made sure of that." Emma's hands trembled. She knew she was seeing something terrible, something dangerous. Derek always presented himself as legitimate, as clean. But this was something else entirely. Then Derek laughed, a cold, mirthless sound that Emma knew too well. "Sometimes I wonder if this town deserves someone like me. I give them jobs, I donate to their schools, and they worship me for it. They have no idea what really keeps this economy running." That's the beauty of it, Mitchell. You're untouchable. Emma pulled back from the gap, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. She needed to get back to the car before Derek noticed she was gone. She turned to run, and her foot caught on a piece of discarded metal piping. The clang echoed across the yard like a gunshot. What was that? Derek's voice, sharp with suspicion, carried from inside the warehouse. Emma didn't wait. She ran, her legs pumping as fast as they could carry her across the gravel. She threw herself back into the Mercedes, pulling the door shut just as she heard footsteps approaching. She pressed herself down into the seat, her heart threatening to burst from her chest, her breath fogging the window. Through squinted eyes, she watched Derek emerge from the warehouse, scanning the area with narrowed eyes. He walked around the vehicle once, twice, then finally seemed satisfied. But as he opened the driver's door and climbed in, Emma saw something that made her stomach drop. Derek was looking at her in the rearview mirror, really looking at her, and in his eyes she saw a question forming, a terrible, dangerous question. "Did you get out of the car, Emma?" Her mouth went dry. "No, sir." "You're sure about that?" "Yes, sir. I stayed right here, like you told me." The silence that followed was suffocating. Derek's eyes remained locked on hers through the mirror, searching, calculating. Finally, he turned away and started the engine. "Good girl," he said, but there was no warmth in his voice, only warning. The drive home was 45 minutes of pure terror. Emma kept her eyes fixed on the desert landscape rushing past, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She couldn't tell her mother. Derek monitored Sarah's every move, controlled every aspect of her life. She couldn't tell anyone at school. Derek was on the school board, friendly with all the teachers and administrators. Who would believe a 9-year-old girl over Derek Mitchell, pillar of the community? When they arrived home, a sprawling ranch-style house on the affluent side of Ridgewood Springs, Sarah was in the kitchen preparing dinner. She looked up as they entered, and Emma saw the familiar mix of hope and fear in her mother's eyes. Hope that everything had gone smoothly, fear that it hadn't. "How was the ride?" Sarah asked, her voice carefully neutral. "Fine," Derek replied, loosening his tie. "Emma was very well behaved. Weren't you, Emma?" Emma nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "Go wash up for dinner," Sarah said gently, and Emma fled to her room with relief. That night, Emma lay awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling. The images from the warehouse played over and over in her mind, the guns, the drugs, Derek's cold laughter. She pulled her worn stuffed rabbit closer, the one her real father had given her before he died in a car accident 4 years ago. "What do I do, Dad?" she whispered into the darkness. "What do I do?" But her father wasn't there to answer. Emma was alone with her terrible knowledge, trapped in a house with a man who was far more dangerous than anyone in Ridgewood Springs could possibly imagine. Over the next 3 days, Emma tried to act normal. She went to school, did her homework, and avoided Derek as much as possible. But she could feel his eyes on her, watching, assessing. At dinner on Sunday night, he asked her seemingly casual questions about her day, about what she'd seen on their drive on Thursday, about whether she remembered anything unusual. Each question felt like a trap. "I heard something interesting today," Derek said, cutting into his steak with precise movements. "One of my security contacts mentioned that someone might have been snooping around the old Riverside warehouse on Thursday, around the same time we were in that area." Emma's fork clattered against her plate. Sarah glanced at her sharply. "Really?" Sarah said, her voice tight. "That's concerning. Very concerning," Derek agreed, his eyes never leaving Emma's face. "Makes me wonder if someone saw something they shouldn't have. Someone who might not understand the consequences of talking about things that are none of their business." The threat was clear, unambiguous. Emma forced herself to meet his gaze. "I didn't see anything," she said, proud that her voice didn't shake. "I stayed in the car, just like you told me." Derek smiled, but it was the smile of a predator toying with prey. "Of course you did. But hypothetically speaking, if someone had seen something, anything at all, it would be very important that they keep that information to themselves, for their own safety and for the safety of people they care about. He looked meaningfully at Sarah, who had gone pale. That night, Emma overheard Derek on the phone in his study. She'd crept out of bed to get a glass of water and froze in the hallway when she heard his voice, low and urgent. "I'm telling you, I think the kid saw something, the way she's been acting." "Yeah, I know how it sounds, but I can't take chances. Not with this operation. We've got too much invested. No, I'm not suggesting we do anything drastic, not yet. But I need to know my options. If she becomes a problem..." Emma didn't wait to hear more. She fled back to her room, her hands shaking so badly she could barely turn the doorknob. Derek was talking about her, about options, about her becoming a problem. She knew what happened to people who became problems for men like Derek. The next morning, Emma made a decision. She couldn't stay silent, but she couldn't go to the local police either. Derek had mentioned having cops on his payroll. She couldn't tell her teachers. She couldn't tell her mother without putting Sarah in even more danger. She needed help from someone outside Derek's sphere of influence, someone who wasn't afraid of him, someone who couldn't be bought or intimidated. As Emma walked to school that Monday morning, her backpack heavy with books and secrets, she passed Rosie's roadside cafe, a small diner on the edge of town that catered primarily to truckers and travelers passing through on Route 87. She'd been there a few times with her mother before Derek. The coffee was strong, the pie was homemade, and the parking lot was always filled with motorcycles. Big, loud motorcycles ridden by even bigger, louder men and women covered in leather and tattoos. People her mother used to warn her about, people Derek dismissed as highway trash and lowlifes. But Emma remembered something else about those motorcycle riders. She remembered how one of them had helped an elderly woman change a flat tire in the parking lot, how another had given his jacket to a shivering hitchhiker, how they'd always treated Rosie, the cafe owner, with respect and courtesy. Maybe, just maybe, they were exactly the kind of people who couldn't be bought by Derek Mitchell. Maybe they were exactly the kind of people who would help a little girl in danger. Emma looked at the cafe one more time as she passed, committing its location to memory. She didn't know when she'd need to run there, but instinct told her the time was coming soon, very soon. That afternoon, when school let out, Emma noticed a black sedan parked across the street, the same sedan she'd seen circling their house the night before. The driver was watching her. When she started walking, the sedan followed at a crawl, maintaining a careful distance. Derek wasn't just watching her anymore, he was having her followed. Emma's decision crystallized in that moment. She couldn't wait for the perfect opportunity. She couldn't plan this out carefully. When the moment came, she would have to run, and she would have to trust that the people at Rosie's roadside cafe would be willing to help a desperate child. Because if they weren't, Emma Grace Holloway knew she wouldn't get a second chance. Tuesday morning arrived with a sky the color of faded denim, streaked with wisps of clouds that promised nothing. No rain, no relief from the relentless Arizona heat. Emma Grace Holloway had barely slept, her mind replaying scenarios of escape, each one ending in disaster. The black sedan had been parked outside their house until well past midnight. A silent reminder that Derek's reach was long and his patience was wearing thin. At breakfast, Derek was unusually quiet, reading the Ridgewood Springs Gazette with his coffee, while Sarah moved nervously around the kitchen. Emma pushed her cereal around in the bowl, unable to eat. Every nerve in her body screamed that something was about to happen. "Emma, I'll be picking you up from school today," Derek announced suddenly, folding his newspaper with crisp precision. "We need to have a conversation, just you and me." Sarah's head snapped up, her eyes widening with barely concealed fear. "Derek, I didn't ask what you thought, Sarah." Derek's voice was pleasant, but the steel underneath was unmistakable. "Emma and I need to discuss some things, adult things. Things about trust and loyalty. Emma's blood turned to ice. This was it. Whatever Derek had planned, it was happening today. She looked at her mother, saw the helplessness in Sarah's eyes, and knew there would be no rescue from that quarter. Sarah was as trapped as Emma, perhaps even more so. "Yes, sir," Emma whispered. School passed in a blur of anxiety. Emma couldn't focus on her math lesson or her reading assignment. Her teacher, Mrs. Patricia Donnelly, noticed her distraction. "Emma, are you feeling all right?" Mrs. Donnelly asked during recess, placing a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder. "You seem troubled." For one desperate moment, Emma considered telling Mrs. Donnelly everything. But then she remembered that Mrs. Donnelly's husband worked for Derek's construction company. Derek had connections everywhere, tentacles reaching into every aspect of Ridgewood Springs life. "I'm fine," Emma lied, "just tired." When the final bell rang at 3:15 p.m., Emma's hands were shaking so badly she could barely zip up her backpack. She walked out to the pickup area where parents waited in their cars, scanning the line of vehicles for Derek's black Mercedes. But Derek wasn't there yet. Emma saw her opportunity, a narrow window of chance that might never come again. While the other teachers supervised the departure of students, while parents focused on collecting their own children, Emma slipped away from the main group. She walked quickly, but not running, not drawing attention, past the school playground and through the gap in the fence that the older kids used as a shortcut. Once she was out of sight of the school, Emma ran. She ran down Jefferson Street, past the boutique shops and real estate offices that Derek owned or controlled. She ran past the park where she used to play before Derek entered their lives. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs ached, until the neat suburban streets gave way to the rougher, older part of town where the highway cut through like a scar. Behind her, she heard a car engine, close, getting closer. She risked a glance back and saw the black sedan, the same one that had been following her, accelerating down the street. Rosie's roadside cafe materialized ahead like a mirage. The parking lot was half full, with 3 or 4 motorcycles lined up near the entrance, big, chrome-covered machines that gleamed in the afternoon sun. Emma had never been so happy to see anything in her entire life. She sprinted across the highway, barely looking for traffic, and burst into the cafe's parking lot just as the black sedan screeched to a stop at the curb. Emma didn't look back. She ran straight for the cafe entrance, pushed through the door, and the cool, air-conditioned interior enveloped her like a blessing. The cafe was exactly as she remembered. Vinyl booths along the windows, a long counter with red leather stools, the smell of coffee and frying bacon hanging in the air. But Emma's eyes went immediately to the group of people sitting in the corner booth. 4 of them, all wearing leather vests with patches and insignia. 3 men and 1 woman, ranging in age from mid-30s to what looked like early 60s. They looked exactly like the kind of people Derek called highway trash. Tattooed, rough around the edges, with the weathered faces of people who'd spent their lives on the road. They also looked like the only people in the cafe who might stand a chance against whatever was waiting for her outside. The largest of the men, a bear of a human being with a graying beard and arms like tree trunks, looked up as Emma burst in. His eyes, sharp and intelligent despite his intimidating appearance, immediately assessed the situation. He saw Emma's terrified face, her heaving chest, the way she kept glancing back at the door. "Hey there, little darling," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "You all right?" Emma opened her mouth, but no words came out. She was gasping for air, tears streaming down her face, her entire body shaking with fear and exhaustion. The woman in the group, a lean, fierce-looking person with short-cropped hair and a scar running down her left cheek, slid out of the booth and approached Emma carefully, hands visible and non-threatening. "Sweetheart, are you in trouble?" she asked. Emma managed to nod. "Is someone hurting you?" Another nod, more vigorous this time. The big man stood up, and Emma realized he was even larger than she'd initially thought. Easily 6'5" and broad as a barn door. But his eyes were kind, concerned. He looked past Emma toward the door, toward the black sedan visible through the window. "That car following you?" "Yes," Emma finally managed to choke out. Please help me. My stepdad. He's going to hurt me. I saw something I wasn't supposed to see, and now he's going to... I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm scared. I'm really scared." The words came tumbling out in a rush, and once they started, Emma couldn't stop them. She told them about Derek, about the warehouse, about the guns and drugs and the threats. She told them about being followed, about Derek's plans to have a conversation with her after school today. She told them everything. This group of strangers with their motorcycles and leather vests, because she had no one else to tell. When she finished, the cafe had gone completely silent. Even Rosie, the owner, a stout woman in her 60s with kind eyes and flour-dusted hands, had emerged from the kitchen and was listening with growing horror. The big man exchanged glances with his companions, and something passed between them, a wordless communication born of years riding together, trusting each other with their lives. "My name's Marcus Sullivan," the big man said, kneeling down so he was at Emma's eye level. "Most folks call me Bear. What's your name, sweetheart?" Emma Grace Holloway." "Well, Emma Grace, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You did the right thing coming here. You're safe now. Nobody's going to hurt you. You understand?" Emma wanted to believe him, but fear had such a tight grip on her heart. "You don't know Derek. He has friends. He has police officers who work for him. He's powerful." Bear's expression hardened. "I don't care if he's the governor himself. You're under the protection of the Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club now, and that means something. That means nobody, and I mean nobody, touches you without going through us first." The woman who'd approached Emma extended her hand. "Name's Rachel Torres, but everyone calls me Razor. I'm the club's sergeant-at-arms. You know what that means?" Emma shook her head. "It means I'm in charge of security and protection, and right now, protecting you is my #1 priority." The other two men introduced themselves. James Wrench Patterson, a wiry man in his 40s with grease permanently stained under his fingernails and a gentle smile, and Robert Preach Williams, a dignified African-American man in his early 60s who'd been a minister before joining the Iron Phoenix. "First things first," Bear said, standing up and pulling out his cell phone. "We need to get you somewhere safe and call the proper authorities. Not local cops if they're compromised, but state police or FBI. He'll find me," Emma whispered. "Derek always finds everything." "Not this time," Razor said firmly. "Rosie, can we use your back office?" Rosie nodded immediately. "Anything you need." "That poor child." Bear started to guide Emma toward the back of the cafe when the door burst open. A man in a dark suit, the driver of the black sedan, strode in, his eyes immediately locking on Emma. "There you are," he said, his voice carrying an edge of relief mixed with threat. "Your father's very worried about you, young lady. Come on, we need to get you home." "He's not my father," Emma said, pressing closer to Bear. The man's expression hardened. "Listen, kid, she's not going anywhere with you," Bear interrupted, stepping between Emma and the man. The difference in their sizes was comical. Bear towered over the suited man by nearly a foot and probably outweighed him by 100 pounds. "This is none of your business," the man snapped. "This is a family matter." "Funny thing about family matters," Preach spoke up, his voice carrying the resonant authority of someone who'd spent years commanding congregations. "They stop being private when a child is in danger. This young lady has made it very clear she doesn't want to go with you." "I don't give a damn what she wants. Mr. Mitchell pays me to—" The man cut himself off, realizing he'd said too much. "To what?" Razor asked, stepping forward. "To kidnap children? To threaten them? To cover up his criminal activities? The man's hand moved toward his jacket, and Emma saw the bulge of a shoulder holster. But before he could do anything, Wrench was there, his hand clamping down on the man's wrist with surprising strength. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Wrench said quietly. "There's 4 of us, 1 of you, and about a dozen witnesses in this cafe. Whatever you're thinking, it's a bad idea." The man looked around the cafe, taking in the grim faces of the other patrons, the way Rosie had her hand under the counter where Emma knew she kept a baseball bat. He calculated his odds and apparently didn't like the result. "Mr. Mitchell isn't going to like this," he said, trying to salvage some authority. "You tell Mr. Mitchell that Emma Grace Holloway is under the protection of the Iron Phoenix MC," Bear said. "And if he's got a problem with that, he can take it up with me personally. My number's in the book." The man's face flushed with anger, but he backed toward the door. "You people have no idea what you're getting into. Mitchell has friends in very high places." "So do we," Preach said calmly. "Now get out before we call the authorities ourselves." The man left, but not before giving Emma one last threatening look. Through the window, they watched him get back into the black sedan and pull out his phone, undoubtedly calling Derek. "We've got maybe 20 minutes before this situation escalates," Razor said, her military training evident in the way she immediately started assessing the tactical situation. "Bear, call Marcus Chen at State Police. He owes us from that trafficking case last year. Wrench, get on the phone with the club. We need bodies here now. Preach, start documenting everything Emma tells us. We need statements, times, locations, everything." "What about me?" Emma asked, her voice small but determined. Bear knelt down again, placing his massive hand gently on her shoulder. "You brave little darling are going to sit down with Rosie, have some pie and milk, and let us handle the scary stuff for a while. Think you can do that?" Emma nodded, though part of her felt guilty for putting these strangers in danger. As if reading her thoughts, Bear smiled. "Hey, don't you worry about us. This is what we do. The Iron Phoenix, we look out for people who can't look out for themselves. We protect kids, we stand up to bullies, and we sure as hell don't let scumbags like Derek Mitchell hurt innocent children." Rosie led Emma to the counter and set her up with a slice of apple pie and a glass of cold milk. While Emma ate, and despite everything, she was ravenous, she watched the Iron Phoenix members spring into action with military precision. Bear made multiple phone calls, his voice low and urgent. Wrench stepped outside to guard the entrance. Razor pulled out a tablet and began making notes, occasionally asking Emma questions about Derek, about what she'd seen at the warehouse, about the threats he'd made. Preach sat next to Emma at the counter and spoke to her in his gentle, ministerial voice. "Emma, I want you to know something important. What you did today, running here, asking for help, being brave enough to tell the truth, that took more courage than most adults have. You should be proud of yourself." "I'm scared," Emma admitted. "Being scared doesn't mean you're not brave," Preach said. "Bravery is being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. And that's exactly what you did." Outside, Emma heard the distinctive rumble of motorcycle engines. Within 10 minutes, the cafe's parking lot had filled with motorcycles, dozens of them. Members of the Iron Phoenix were arriving from all over the county, called in by Wrench's emergency notification. They came in all shapes and sizes, all ages and backgrounds. There were men and women, young and old, veterans and teachers and mechanics and nurses. What united them was the patch on their vests, the Iron Phoenix emblem, and the code they lived by: protect the innocent, stand against injustice, and never abandon a brother or sister in need. Bear gathered them in the parking lot, and through the window, Emma could see him briefing them on the situation. Heads nodded, expressions hardened. These were people who'd seen the worst of humanity and had decided to fight back against it. When Bear came back inside, he had a plan. "All right, Emma. Here's what's going to happen. State Police Detective Marcus Chen is on his way. Should be here in about an hour. He's good people, and he's bringing a social worker with him. You're going to tell them everything you told us, and they're going to make sure you and your mama are safe." "What about Derek?" Emma asked. "Detective Chen is also contacting the FBI's Phoenix field office. What you saw at that warehouse, the guns, the drugs, that's federal jurisdiction. They'll handle Derek Mitchell." "But what if Derek tries to get to me before they arrive? That man called him. Derek knows where I am." Bear's smile was grim. "Let him try. We've got 37 members of the Iron Phoenix between you and anyone who wants to hurt you, and that number's growing by the minute. Word's spreading, and our brothers and sisters from Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff chapters are on their way." True to his word, motorcycles continued to arrive throughout the afternoon. The parking lot of Rosie's Roadside Cafe became a sea of chrome and leather, a fortress of unlikely guardians surrounding one frightened little girl. And when Derek Mitchell's black Mercedes finally pulled up at 5:30 p.m., accompanied by 2 additional vehicles full of his security personnel, he found himself facing not a helpless child, but a wall of bikers standing shoulder to shoulder, arms crossed, expressions implacable. Emma watched from inside the cafe as Derek got out of his car. Even from this distance, she could see the rage on his face, the way his hands clenched into fists. He was a man accustomed to power, to control, to getting his way. But here, in this parking lot, surrounded by people who answered to no one and feared nothing, Derek Mitchell's power meant nothing. Bear walked forward to meet him, Razor and Preach flanking him. Emma couldn't hear what was said, but she saw Derek gesturing angrily, saw him pull out his phone and make threats. Bear simply stood there, immovable as a mountain, until Derek finally realized he wasn't going to get what he wanted. Not today, not ever again. When State Police Detective Marcus Chen arrived with his partner and a social worker named Jennifer Reeves, the sun was setting over the desert, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Emma gave her statement, showed them where the warehouse was located on a map, and answered every question as thoroughly as she could. "You're a very brave young lady," Detective Chen said when they were finished. "What you've told us today is going to help a lot of people and stop some very bad things from happening." "What happens now?" Emma asked. "Now we get you somewhere safe while we investigate. We're going to place you and your mother in protective custody. Derek Mitchell won't be able to get anywhere near either of you." "And the Iron Phoenix?" Emma looked around at the bikers who'd spent the entire afternoon and evening protecting her. Detective Chen smiled. "They're heroes, every single one of them. They probably saved your life today." As Emma was led to Detective Chen's unmarked car, she stopped and turned back to where Bear stood with his club members. She ran to him, and the big man knelt down to her level one more time. "Thank you," Emma said, throwing her arms around his neck. "Thank you for believing me. Thank you for protecting me." Bear's eyes were suspiciously bright as he hugged her back. "You take care of yourself, Emma Grace. You're going to be just fine. You're a survivor." "Will I see you again?" Emma asked. "Count on it," Bear promised. "Once this is all over and you're safe, the Iron Phoenix will be checking in on you. You're part of our family now, and we take care of family." As Detective Chen's car pulled away from Rosie's Roadside Cafe, Emma looked back at the sea of motorcycles and their riders. These strangers who'd become her protectors, these highway trash, who'd proven to be the most honorable people she'd ever met. And for the first time in days, Emma Grace Holloway felt something she'd almost forgotten: hope. The Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club's headquarters sat on the eastern edge of Ridgewood Springs, a converted garage and warehouse that had seen better days but served its purpose well. The building's exterior was weathered and unpretentious, but inside was a different story. A well-maintained space with a full garage for repairs, a meeting room, a small kitchen, and walls covered with photographs chronicling the club's 20-year history. It was here, at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, that Bear called an emergency full club meeting. Word had spread through the Iron Phoenix network like wildfire. A child was in danger, the enemy was powerful and well-connected, and every member was needed. They came from across Arizona and from neighboring states. The Phoenix chapter, the Tucson chapter, the Flagstaff chapter, even members from Nevada and New Mexico. They rode through the night, left jobs and families, because when the Iron Phoenix called, you answered. By the time Bear banged his gavel on the scarred wooden table at the front of the meeting room, there were 73 members present, the largest gathering of the Iron Phoenix in over 5 years. Bear stood before them, his presence commanding the room without effort. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I know some of you rode all night to get here, and I don't take that lightly, but we've got a situation that requires the full strength of this club. He proceeded to lay out the facts. Emma Grace Holloway, 9 years old, had witnessed her stepfather Derek Mitchell's illegal arms and drug operation. Mitchell, a wealthy and connected businessman with dirty cops on his payroll, had threatened the child. Emma had run to Rosie's roadside cafe seeking help, and the Iron Phoenix had taken her under their protection until state police could intervene. "Where's the girl now?" asked Thomas Hammer Davidson, president of the Tucson chapter, a grizzled veteran with silver hair and a prosthetic left leg from his time in the Marines. "Protective custody with State Police Detective Marcus Chen," Bear replied. "He's solid. We've worked with him before on the trafficking case 2 years back." Emma and her mother Sarah are being kept at a safe house in Tempe while the FBI builds their case against Mitchell. Razor stood up, unrolling a large map of Ridgewood Springs on the table. "Here's the problem. Mitchell is connected and dangerous. He's got at least 3 Ridgewood Springs PD officers in his pocket, including Sergeant Lloyd Harrison. He owns half the commercial real estate in town, which means he's got leverage over dozens of businesses and city officials. The district attorney, Raymond Vasquez, has taken campaign donations from Mitchell. The man has built himself a kingdom, and he's not going down without a fight." "What does he want?" asked Linda Viper Blackwood, the sergeant-at-arms for the Phoenix chapter, a woman with iron-gray hair and the calculating eyes of a chess master. "He wants Emma," Preach said quietly. "He wants her silenced before she can testify. The FBI has scheduled a preliminary hearing for next Monday, 6 days from now. If Emma testifies and her testimony is entered into the record, it becomes part of the official investigation. Mitchell's lawyers won't be able to suppress it. But if something happens to Emma before then, the implication hung heavy in the air. So, we make sure nothing happens to her," Bear said firmly. "The state police have her in protective custody, but we all know how that goes. Too few officers, too many potential leaks. Mitchell has money and connections. All it takes is one dirty cop, one compromised social worker, one moment of vulnerability." "What are you proposing?" Hammer asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "Round-the-clock protection. The Iron Phoenix maintains a presence wherever Emma is. We supplement the police protection, provide an extra layer of security. We make it clear that anyone who wants to get to that child has to go through us first." Wrench stood up, his usual easy smile replaced by grim determination. "I'm in. Whatever you need, Bear. This is exactly what we're supposed to do." One by one, hands went up around the room. 73 Iron Phoenix members volunteering to put themselves between a frightened child and a dangerous enemy. "It's not going to be easy," Razor warned. "Mitchell will push back. He'll use his connections to make trouble for us. He might send his people after us directly. This could get violent." "Let it," growled Jackson Diesel Turner, a massive black man with arms like pistons and a scar that ran from his temple to his jaw. "I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. I didn't survive that just to let some rich asshole hurt a little girl on American soil." Bear nodded his appreciation. "All right, here's how we're going to structure this. I've already spoken with Detective Chen and he's agreed to coordinate with us. Off the record, of course. The FBI is investigating, but these things take time. We need to keep Emma safe for the next 6 days until the hearing. Razor took over the tactical briefing. We're setting up 4-person teams on 8-hour rotations. Each team will maintain a presence at the safe house in Tempe. We park our bikes out front. We make ourselves visible. The message is clear. The Iron Phoenix is here, and we're not leaving. What about Emma's mother? Asked Father Michael St. O'Brien, a former Catholic priest who'd left the church to join the Iron Phoenix but retained his calling to help those in need. Is she cooperative? Sarah Holloway is terrified, Preach said. She's been under Mitchell's control for 2 years. She's afraid of him, but she's also afraid of losing Emma to Child Protective Services if this goes sideways. Jennifer Reeves, the social worker, is good people. She's working with Sarah, but it's going to take time to undo the psychological damage Mitchell has done. Bear pulled out a folder of documents. I've also been in contact with Emily Thorne. She's an attorney with the Arizona Civil Liberties Union. She's agreed to represent Sarah Holloway pro bono. Emily's working on getting a restraining order against Mitchell, emergency custody arrangements, and she's preparing Sarah for the possibility that she'll need to testify as well. And Mitchell's response? Viper asked. What's he doing? As of this morning, he's hired Jonathan Pierce as his attorney, Razor said. And several members groaned. Pierce was notorious in Arizona legal circles, a high-priced defense attorney who specialized in getting wealthy criminals acquitted on technicalities. Pierce has already filed motions to suppress Emma's initial statements, claiming she was coerced. He's arguing that a 9-year-old can't give reliable testimony without parental consent, and that the Iron Phoenix intimidated her. That's bullshit, Wrench said heatedly. The kid came to us for help. We know that, and Detective Chen knows that, Bear said. But Pierce is good at what he does. He's going to throw every legal obstacle he can at this case. That's why it's crucial that Emma makes it to that hearing. Once her testimony is on the record, it's much harder for Pierce to make it disappear. The meeting continued for another 2 hours as the Iron Phoenix planned their strategy. Teams were organized, communication protocols were established, and contingency plans were developed for various scenarios. If Mitchell's people tried to breach the safe house, if corrupt cops attempted an official removal of Emma, if there was a legal maneuver to relocate her to a less secure facility, for every possibility, the Iron Phoenix had a response. By noon, the first team was on their way to Tempe. Razor, Wrench, Diesel, and a skilled rider named Christine Frost Nguyen, who'd spent 10 years as a trauma nurse before joining the club and brought valuable medical knowledge to the team. Bear, Preach, and Hammer remained in Ridgewood Springs to coordinate operations and gather intelligence on Mitchell's activities. They set up a command center in the Iron Phoenix headquarters with laptops, police scanners, and a direct line to Detective Chen. That afternoon, Bear received a visit from an unexpected source, Officer David Nelson, a Ridgewood Springs PD patrolman in his late 20s. Nelson was young, idealistic, and one of the few cops in town who wasn't in Mitchell's pocket. I heard what you guys are doing for that little girl, Nelson said, standing awkwardly in the Iron Phoenix's parking lot, clearly uncomfortable being there in uniform. I want to help. Bear studied him carefully. No offense, Officer Nelson, but how do we know you're not here on Mitchell's orders? Because Sergeant Harrison told me to stay away from this case, Nelson said bitterly. Said it was politically sensitive and that I should focus on traffic violations. I've been on the force for 3 years, and I've watched Mitchell operate. Everyone knows he's dirty, but nobody will touch him because he owns half the town. What can you tell us? Preach asked. Nelson glanced around nervously, then pulled out his phone. Mitchell's been meeting with some serious people. Yesterday, a guy named Viktor Kozlov visited Mitchell's office. Kozlov runs security for the Petrov organization, their Russian mob operating out of Phoenix. Word is, Mitchell contracts his distribution network through them. Bear and Preach exchanged glances. Russian mob involvement raised the stakes considerably. There's more, Nelson continued. This morning, Sergeant Harrison assigned 2 officers, Jenkins and Ramirez, to locate and secure Emma Holloway. He claimed it was an official protective custody transfer, but I saw the paperwork. It's fake. They're planning to intercept her transport and take her somewhere off the books. When? Bear demanded. Tomorrow morning. There's supposedly a psychological evaluation scheduled at a facility in Phoenix. Emma's being transported from the safe house at 9 a.m. Harrison's planning to have Jenkins and Ramirez intercept the transport on Highway 60, claim jurisdiction, and take her into Ridgewood Springs PD custody. Bear immediately pulled out his phone and called Detective Chen. Marcus, we've got a problem. After relaying the information and confirming that no official transport was scheduled for tomorrow, Chen's voice came back tight with anger. Someone inside leaked the safe house location. We need to move Emma and her mother tonight. Where? Bear asked. I've got a place, my brother's ranch outside of Scottsdale. It's not in any official database, completely off the books. Can your people provide escort? We'll have 20 bikes there within 2 hours, Bear promised. The emergency relocation happened at sunset. Detective Chen, his partner Detective Sarah Alvarez, and social worker Jennifer Reeves loaded Emma and Sarah Holloway into an unmarked van. Surrounding them were 22 Iron Phoenix motorcycles forming a protective convoy, an armored escort that would make any interceptee attempt virtually impossible. Emma watched through the van's window as the bikers formed up around them, their motorcycles rumbling like thunder. She saw Razor ride past on a sleek black motorcycle, saw Diesel and Wrench flanking the rear. At the head of the convoy, Bear led the way on his massive Harley-Davidson, a road captain guiding his flock to safety. Mommy, who are all these people? Emma asked softly. Sarah Holloway, who'd spent the past 24 hours in a daze of fear and confusion, looked at her daughter. They're angels, baby. Very unlikely angels, but angels nonetheless. The convoy rolled through the Arizona night, headlights cutting through the darkness, engines roaring defiance. They took a circuitous route, doubling back several times, using back roads and highways to ensure they weren't followed. Wrench and 2 other members with technical expertise used radio frequency scanners to detect any tracking devices or surveillance. At Detective Chen's brother's ranch, a sprawling property with a main house, guest house, and stables surrounded by several acres of desert scrubland, the Iron Phoenix established a perimeter. 8 members remained on site at all times, rotating in 8-hour shifts. They set up tents in the yard, maintained constant radio contact with Bear at the command center, and made their presence unmistakably clear. Emma finally began to relax. That first night at the ranch, she had dinner with her mother, Detective Chen, and several Iron Phoenix members in the main house's large kitchen. It was surreal, eating chicken casserole while surrounded by leather-clad bikers with tattoos and scars, discussing security protocols and legal strategies, but it was also the first time in 2 years that Emma felt truly safe. Why are you all doing this for me? Emma asked Razor during dinner. You don't even know me. Razor set down her fork and looked at Emma with those fierce, kind eyes. You know what the Iron Phoenix stands for. The phoenix is a mythical bird that rises from the ashes, reborn and stronger. A lot of us in this club, we've been through hell. We've been broken, burned, left for dead by life, but we rose from those ashes. She gestured around the table at the other members. Diesel over there was homeless for 3 years after his military service. Wrench lost his family in a drunk driving accident and almost drank himself to death. Saint was excommunicated from the church for standing up for abuse victims. Bear's story is his to tell, but let's just say he knows what it's like to feel powerless. Razor reached across the table and gently squeezed Emma's hand. We protect people like you because we remember what it was like to be vulnerable, to be afraid, to need someone to stand up for us. We're not heroes, Emma. We're just people who decided that the strong should protect the weak, and that nobody should have to face their monsters alone. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't need to thank us," Bear said from the doorway, where he'd been standing listening. "You already thanked us by being brave enough to ask for help. That took more courage than anything we're doing." Over the next 3 days, the Iron Phoenix maintained their vigil, while Detective Chen and the FBI built their case against Derek Mitchell. The investigation expanded rapidly as Emma's testimony provided the thread that unraveled Mitchell's entire operation. Federal agents raided the warehouse Emma had described, finding exactly what she'd reported: crates of illegal weapons, processed drugs ready for distribution, and financial records linking Mitchell to organized crime networks across the Southwest. They arrested 3 of Mitchell's associates, and under pressure, one of them, a mid-level dealer named Christopher Wade, agreed to cooperate in exchange for a reduced sentence. Wade's testimony was devastating. He detailed Mitchell's operation: guns smuggled in from Mexico and sold to criminal organizations across Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada. Drug distribution networks operating under the cover of Mitchell's legitimate real estate business. Bribes paid to local law enforcement and city officials. Wade even provided evidence of Mitchell's connections to Viktor Kozlov and the Petrov organization. But Mitchell wasn't going down without a fight. On Friday afternoon, 3 days before the hearing, Jonathan Pierce held a press conference. Standing in front of Ridgewood Springs City Hall, the attorney painted his client as a victim of a vigilante motorcycle gang that had kidnapped and brainwashed a vulnerable child. Derek Mitchell is a respected businessman and philanthropist who has been unfairly targeted by criminals masquerading as protectors, Pierce told the assembled reporters. The so-called Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club is a gang with a documented history of violence and illegal activity. They've coerced a confused and frightened child into making false accusations against her loving stepfather. This is a witch hunt, plain and simple. The press conference was a calculated move, and it had its intended effect. By Friday evening, the story was all over local news. Motorcycle gang holds child in secret location, and businessman claims kidnapping by biker gang. The narrative was shifting, and not in the Iron Phoenix's favor. Bear watched the news coverage from the command center. His jaw clenched in frustration. "They're playing the PR game, making us look like the bad guys." "Let them," Preach said calmly. "The truth will come out at the hearing. We just need to keep Emma safe for 3 more days." But Mitchell had one more card to play. On Saturday morning, Sergeant Lloyd Harrison of the Ridgewood Springs PD obtained a court order signed by Judge Franklin Pierce, Jonathan Pierce's uncle, and a known Mitchell ally, declaring Emma Holloway a ward of the court and ordering her immediate transfer to State Child Protective Services custody. The order also included a warrant for the arrest of unnamed members of the Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club for custodial interference and kidnapping. It was a legal trap, brilliantly executed. If the Iron Phoenix refused to comply with a court order, they'd be in violation of the law, giving Mitchell's people legal justification to come after them with everything they had. Detective Chen called Bear with the news. "This is bad. Judge Pierce's order is legally questionable at best. It completely bypasses the federal investigation and ignores the FBI's evidence. But it's still a court order. If we don't comply, the state police will be obligated to enforce it." "And if we do comply?" Bear asked. "Emma gets transferred to a CPS facility, and there's no guarantee Mitchell can't get to her there. He's probably already identified which facility and made arrangements." Bear looked around the command center at the faces of his brothers and sisters. They'd ridden through the night, left their families, put their lives on hold to protect one little girl. They'd done everything right, and yet here they were, backed into a legal corner by a corrupt system. "What's our play?" Hammer asked. Bear was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then he smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. We don't play their game, we change the rules. What do you have in mind? Preach asked. They want a public relations battle? Let's give them one. Razor, call every journalist contact we have. Wrench, I need you to reach out to the local news stations. Diesel, get on social media. I want the truth about what happened to Emma all over, Twitter, everything. And Preach. Yes? I need you to make some calls to your old congregation, to every minister and community leader you know in Phoenix and Ridgewood Springs. It's time the good people of Arizona heard the real story. That evening, the counteroffensive began. The Iron Phoenix released a detailed statement, including timeline of events, copies of Emma's initial statements, photographs of the warehouse raid, and character testimonials from Detective Chen and social worker Jennifer Reeves. They posted it on their website, sent it to every major news outlet in Arizona, and shared it across social media. Within hours, the narrative began to shift again. People who knew the Iron Phoenix's reputation for community service and child protection came forward to defend them. Former beneficiaries of the club's charity work, families they'd helped, children they'd protected, communities they'd served, spoke up. Retired Army Colonel James Hartley, a decorated veteran who'd worked with the Iron Phoenix on veteran support initiatives, gave a powerful interview to Phoenix news station KPNX. I know these people. I've served alongside some of them in combat. The Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club are not criminals. They're patriots who stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. If they're protecting that little girl, it's because she needs protecting. Sarah Holloway, emboldened by the support and working with attorney Emily Thorne, gave her own statement. My daughter is in danger from my husband, Derek Mitchell. The Iron Phoenix saved her life. They're the only reason she's alive to testify about what she saw. Anyone calling them criminals doesn't know the truth. By Sunday morning, the public opinion tide was turning. The story of Emma Grace Holloway, a brave little girl who'd stood up to a powerful criminal, resonated with people. The image of dozens of bikers surrounding a child to protect her from harm was powerful, compelling. Mitchell and his attorney Pierce found themselves on the defensive, their narrative crumbling as more facts emerged. But there was still one more day until the hearing, and everyone knew that desperate men did desperate things. On Sunday night, as Emma slept in the ranch's guest house under the watchful eyes of Razor and Frost, Bear received a call from Officer David Nelson. Mitchell's making his move, Nelson said urgently. I overheard Harrison on the phone. They're sending a team to the ranch tonight, 8 men, heavily armed, pretending to be federal marshals enforcing the court order. It's a snatch and grab. They're planning to take Emma by force. Bear looked at his watch, 11:47 p.m. When? Midnight, maybe earlier. Bear, these guys are professionals, former military contractors. Mitchell's not messing around anymore. Neither are we, Bear said. Thanks for the warning, David. Bear immediately activated the club's emergency protocol. Within 15 minutes, 42 Iron Phoenix members converged on the ranch, their motorcycles forming a ring of steel around the property. They extinguished unnecessary lights, positioned themselves strategically, and waited. Emma woke up to the sound of motorcycle engines and voices outside. She looked out the window of the guest house and saw the bikers taking defensive positions around the property, their faces grim and determined. What's happening? She asked Razor, who was checking her phone for updates. Someone's coming for you, Razor said honestly. She'd learned that lying to Emma did more harm than good. But they're going to have to go through all of us first. And that's not going to happen. Emma should have been terrified. But looking at the determined faces of the Iron Phoenix members, at these people who'd given up everything to protect her, she felt something else. Protected, valued, and for the first time in her life, part of something bigger than herself. At 12:23 a.m., 3 black SUVs approached the ranch entrance, their headlights cutting through the darkness. They slowed when they saw the wall of motorcycles blocking the road, the dozens of leather-clad figures standing shoulder to shoulder. Bear walked forward to meet them, flanked by Hammer and Diesel. The lead SUV's window rolled down, revealing a hard-faced man in tactical gear. "We're federal marshals here to execute a court order," the man said, though his credentials looked freshly printed and his demeanor screamed private contractor. "No, you're not," Bear said calmly. "You're hired thugs working for Derek Mitchell, and you're not getting past this gate." The man's hand moved toward his weapon. "You're interfering with federal law enforcement, and you're about to commit kidnapping and possibly murder of a 9-year-old witness in a federal investigation," Bear replied. "We've got news cameras on the way, state police have been notified, and every single thing you do here is being recorded." He gestured to where Wrench was filming with a professional camera, the red recording light clearly visible. The man calculated his options. He'd been hired for a quick snatch and grab, not a prolonged confrontation with witnesses and cameras. After a tense 30 seconds, he put the SUV in reverse. "This isn't over," he threatened. "Yeah, it is," Bear said. "It's over tomorrow morning when that little girl testifies and your employer goes to prison." The SUVs retreated into the night, and the Iron Phoenix members erupted in cheers and relieved laughter. They'd stood their ground, and they'd won. Emma, watching from the window, felt tears streaming down her face. These people, these wonderful, brave, unlikely heroes, had saved her life not once, but multiple times. They'd stood between her and monsters, and they'd never wavered. She made herself a promise in that moment. When this was over, when Derek Mitchell was in prison and she was safe, she would spend the rest of her life living up to the courage these people had shown her. She would be brave, like the Iron Phoenix. She would stand up for others who couldn't stand up for themselves. She would rise from the ashes of her trauma, stronger and unbroken, just like the phoenix that had given these warriors their name. Monday morning arrived with a cloudless sky that seemed to mock the tension crackling through the air. The Maricopa County Superior Courthouse in Phoenix stood as an imposing edifice of glass and concrete, its modern architecture a stark contrast to the drama about to unfold within its walls. At 7:30 a.m., a convoy unlike any the courthouse had ever seen began to arrive. 58 motorcycles, engines rumbling in synchronized thunder, pulled into the courthouse parking lot in perfect formation. The Iron Phoenix had come in force, not just the Arizona chapters, but members from Nevada, New Mexico, and even California, all riding through the night to bear witness to this moment. They wore their colors proudly. Leather vests emblazoned with the Iron Phoenix emblem, patches denoting chapters and ranks. But they also wore their Sunday best beneath those vests. Pressed shirts, clean jeans, polished boots. They were here to make a statement, and that statement was one of respectability, legitimacy, and unwavering support for Emma Grace Holloway. At the center of the convoy, protected like a precious jewel, was an unmarked sedan carrying Emma, her mother Sarah, Detective Marcus Chen, and social worker Jennifer Reeves. Flanking them were Razor and Bear on their motorcycles, a personal guard for the girl who'd become the Iron Phoenix's most important mission. Local news crews had gotten word of the gathering, and cameras were already rolling as the bikers dismounted and began forming orderly lines leading to the courthouse entrance. This was the public relations battle playing out in real time. The image of dozens of leather-clad bikers creating a protective corridor for a frightened child was powerful, undeniable. Emma stepped out of the sedan, wearing a simple blue dress that Jennifer had bought for her, her hair neatly braided, looking every bit the innocent child she was. The cameras captured her small hand, gripping Bear's massive one as he walked beside her, Razor on her other side, creating a human shield against any threat. Inside the courthouse, the preliminary hearing was scheduled for Judge Margaret Hawthorne's courtroom. a fair-minded jurist with a reputation for impartiality and zero tolerance for legal games. The FBI had specifically requested Hawthorne, knowing that Judge Franklin Pierce's court order would hold no weight here. The hallway outside courtroom 3B filled with an unusual mix of people. FBI agents in suits, Iron Phoenix members in leather, journalists with cameras and microphones, curious courthouse staff, and a phalanx of attorneys representing various interests in the case. On one side stood Derek Mitchell with his attorney Jonathan Pierce, exuding confidence despite the circumstances. Mitchell wore an impeccably tailored suit, his silver hair perfectly styled, every inch the respectable businessman. He radiated entitlement and barely controlled rage, his eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on Emma. Emma felt his gaze like a physical weight and instinctively pressed closer to bear. But this time, instead of cowering, she met Derek's eyes and held his stare. She'd been frightened for so long, but surrounded by her protectors, she found a core of steel within herself. Derek was the one who looked away first. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Margaret Hawthorne," the bailiff announced as the hearing began. Judge Hawthorne was a woman in her early 60s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She surveyed her courtroom, taking in the unusual gathering with a raised eyebrow, but no comment. "This is a preliminary hearing in the matter of the United States versus Derek Mitchell," she began. "The purpose of this hearing is to determine if sufficient evidence exists to proceed with formal charges. Mr. Pierce, I understand you have several motions." Jonathan Pierce stood, his expensive suit and practiced charm on full display. "Your Honor, the defense moves to suppress the testimony of the minor child, Emma Holloway, on the grounds that her statements were obtained without proper parental consent and under conditions of duress created by members of a criminal motorcycle organization. Before the prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Brennan, a sharp-featured man in his 40s with a reputation for prosecutorial excellence, could respond. Judge Hawthorne held up her hand. "Mr. Pierce, are you referring to the Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club?" "Yes, Your Honor. They have effectively kidnapped and held Ms. Holloway against—" "I'm going to stop you right there," Judge Hawthorne interrupted. "I've read the case files, Mr. Pierce. The Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club responded to a child's plea for help, cooperated fully with law enforcement, and provided protection when it became clear that your client posed a threat to the witness. Unless you have evidence of actual wrongdoing by the Iron Phoenix, I suggest you focus your arguments on other matters." Pierce's face flushed, but he sat down. Judge Hawthorne turned her attention to the prosecutor. "Mr. Brennan, present your case." Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Brennan stood with confidence born of solid evidence. "Your Honor, the United States calls Emma Grace Holloway to the stand." A ripple went through the courtroom. Emma felt her stomach clench with fear, but Bear squeezed her shoulder gently. "You've got this, brave girl," he whispered. "Just tell the truth. We're all right here." Emma walked to the witness stand, her legs shaking. The bailiff helped her onto the elevated seat, and suddenly she was looking down at a courtroom full of people. Reporters, lawyers, FBI agents, Iron Phoenix members, and Derek Mitchell. Judge Hawthorne leaned forward with a kind expression. "Hello, Emma. My name is Judge Hawthorne. Do you understand why you're here today?" "Yes, ma'am," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "To tell the truth about what I saw." "That's exactly right. And I want you to know that you're safe here. No one is going to hurt you. Just answer the questions as honestly as you can. All right?" Emma nodded, feeling slightly less terrified. Brennan approached with a gentle smile. "Emma, can you tell us what happened on Thursday, September 21st? Emma took a deep breath and began. She described being in Derek's car, being told to stay inside, her curiosity leading her to peek through the warehouse gap. She described seeing the guns, the drugs, the men conducting business. Derek's cold laughter and comments about being untouchable. Her voice grew stronger as she spoke, the truth giving her courage. "And what happened when you accidentally made noise?" Brennan asked. Derek came out looking around. "When we got in the car, he asked if I'd gotten out. I lied and said no, but I think he knew. He said that if someone saw something they shouldn't have, it would be very important that they keep quiet, for their own safety and for people they care about." Emma looked at her mother, who was crying silently in the gallery. "He was threatening my mom." "Did you feel you were in danger?" "Yes, sir. He had someone following me. He told my mom he needed to have a conversation with me. I was really scared." "What did you do?" "I ran to Rosie's roadside cafe. I'd seen the motorcycle people there before, and I thought maybe they would help me, because Derek always said they were bad people, but I'd seen them being kind, and Derek lied about everything else, so maybe he was lying about them too." Several Iron Phoenix members in the gallery had tears in their eyes. This little girl had seen through society's prejudices and found the truth beneath. "And did they help you?" "They saved my life," Emma said simply, looking directly at Bear. "They believed me when nobody else would. They protected me when I had nowhere else to go. They're heroes." Jonathan Pierce's cross-examination was aggressive, but Emma held firm. He tried to suggest she'd been coached, that she'd misunderstood what she saw, that she was making things up to get attention. But Emma's testimony remained consistent, detailed, and unshakable. When Pierce asked, "Isn't it true that these bikers intimidated you into making these accusations?" Emma looked at him with such pure honesty that even Pierce seemed taken aback. "No, sir. They're the first people who ever made me feel safe. They asked me what happened, and I told them the truth. Nobody made me say anything." After Emma's testimony came Detective Chen, who detailed the investigation, the warehouse raid, the evidence recovered. Then Christopher Wade, Derek's former associate, provided devastating insider testimony about the operation's scope. FBI Special Agent Laura Fitzgerald presented financial records showing Mitchell's money laundering through his real estate business, wire transfers to known criminal organizations, and communications with Viktor Kozlov of the Petrov crime family. Sarah Holloway testified about Derek's controlling behavior, his unexplained wealth, his threats, the bruises Emma tried to hide. Her voice shook, but attorney Emily Thorne stood beside her, providing support. By mid-afternoon, the evidence was overwhelming. Judge Hawthorne didn't need long to deliberate. "Based on the testimony and evidence presented, I find sufficient probable cause to bind Derek Mitchell over for trial on charges of weapons trafficking, drug distribution, money laundering, conspiracy, witness intimidation, and child endangerment. Bail is denied. Mr. Mitchell will remain in federal custody pending trial." The gavel came down, and Derek Mitchell's carefully constructed world collapsed. Derek's face contorted with rage. As marshals moved to take him into custody, he lunged toward Emma, screaming, "You little bitch! Do you have any idea what you've done? You've destroyed everything!" He didn't get far. Diesel and Wrench were there in an instant, forming a human wall between Derek and Emma. Federal marshals wrestled Derek to the ground, cuffing him as he continued to shout threats. Emma watched Derek being dragged from the courtroom, and for the first time since her real father died, she felt free. The monster who'd haunted her life was going to prison, and she had her voice back. Outside the courthouse, the scene was jubilant. Iron Phoenix members celebrated quietly, mindful of the solemnity of the moment, but unable to hide their satisfaction. News cameras captured Emma standing between Bear and Razor, the three of them a symbol of unlikely heroism that would dominate headlines for weeks to come. "How are you feeling, Emma?" a reporter called out. Emma looked up at Bear, who nodded encouragingly. She stepped toward the microphones, small but no longer afraid. "I'm feeling brave," she said, "and I'm feeling grateful. The Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club saved my life. They showed me that real strength is protecting people who need help, not hurting them. They're not scary. They're heroes. And I hope everybody knows that now. The image of Emma's statement, flanked by leather-clad bikers, speaking with the clarity and courage of someone 3 times her age, went viral within hours. Major news networks picked up the story. Social media exploded with support for the Iron Phoenix and admiration for Emma's bravery. That evening, at the Iron Phoenix headquarters, the club held a special ceremony. Emma and Sarah were there, along with Detective Chen, social worker Jennifer Reeves, attorney Emily Thorne, and Officer David Nelson, who'd risked his career to help them. Bear stood before the assembled club, his voice carrying the weight of emotion. Brothers and sisters of the Iron Phoenix, we've done something important here. We stood up for a child who had no one else to stand up for her. We faced down power and corruption and fear, and we didn't blink. This is what we're about. This is why we exist. He turned to Emma. Emma Grace Holloway, you showed more courage in 9 years than most people show in a lifetime. You trusted us when you had every reason to trust no one. You told the truth when lying would have been easier. You stood tall when monsters tried to make you small. Razor stepped forward, carrying a small leather vest, child-sized with the Iron Phoenix emblem on the back. The Iron Phoenix would like to make you an honorary member. You're one of us now, Emma. Forever. Emma's eyes filled with tears as they helped her into the vest. It was too big, but she'd grow into it. The club members erupted in applause, their rough hands gentle as they took turns hugging her, welcoming her into their family. Preach raised his glass. To Emma, the bravest phoenix of all. To Emma, the club chorused. That night, Sarah and Emma stayed in a small apartment that Emily Thorne had helped them secure. A fresh start, far from Derek's influence. As Emma lay in her new bed, wearing her Iron Phoenix vest over her pajamas, Sarah sat beside her. "I'm so sorry, baby," Sarah whispered. "Sorry I didn't protect you sooner. Sorry I let him into our lives." "It's okay, Mama," Emma said. "We're safe now. We're going to be okay. Because of you, my brave, beautiful girl." Emma thought about everything that had happened. The terror, the danger, the unlikely salvation. "Mama, do you think Dad would be proud of me?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Your father would be so incredibly proud. You're exactly the kind of person he hoped you'd become. Brave, honest, and strong." 6 months later, spring arrived in Arizona with wildflowers blooming across the desert and temperatures that hadn't yet climbed to their summer extremes. The trial of Derek Mitchell had concluded 2 weeks earlier with guilty verdicts on all counts. He'd been sentenced to 45 years in federal prison without possibility of parole, essentially a life sentence for a man in his late 50s. But Derek's conviction was only the beginning of the story's ripple effects. The investigation that Emma's testimony had initiated uncovered a web of corruption throughout Ridgewood Springs. Sergeant Lloyd Harrison, along with officers Jenkins and Ramirez, were arrested on charges of accepting bribes and obstructing justice. Judge Franklin Pierce was disbarred and faced his own criminal charges. District Attorney Raymond Vasquez resigned in disgrace. The Petrov organization's connection to Mitchell led to a massive FBI operation that took down significant portions of their weapons and drug trafficking network across the Southwest. Dozens of arrests were made, millions of dollars in illegal goods were seized, and countless lives were potentially saved. For Emma and Sarah Holloway, the past 6 months had been a journey of healing and rebuilding. With Emily Thorne's help, Sarah had divorced Derek, secured full custody of Emma, and found work as an administrative assistant at a medical clinic in Scottsdale. They lived in a modest but comfortable apartment, free from fear for the first time in years. Emma had started therapy with Dr. Patricia Chen, Detective Marcus Chen's sister, a child psychologist who specialized in trauma. The nightmares had gradually lessened. The constant anxiety had begun to ease. Emma was learning to be a child again, to trust again, to feel safe in the world. But perhaps most importantly, Emma had found a new family in the Iron Phoenix. Every Saturday, Bear and several club members visited Emma and Sarah. Sometimes they took Emma riding on the back of their motorcycles, always with proper safety gear and Sarah's permission. Sometimes they just came for dinner, these tough bikers becoming unexpectedly domestic as they helped cook or played board games with Emma. The Iron Phoenix had become media sensations. Their protection of Emma had sparked a national conversation about motorcycle clubs, community service, and the courage of ordinary people standing up against injustice. Donations poured into the club's charity fund, which they used to support other children in need, domestic violence shelters, and veteran services. Bear had appeared on national news programs, always deflecting attention away from himself and toward the broader message that heroes came in all forms and that every person had a responsibility to protect the vulnerable. On this particular Saturday in March, the Iron Phoenix was hosting a community event at a park in Phoenix, a family-friendly gathering designed to build bridges between the motorcycle community and the general public. There were games for kids, food trucks, information booths about the Iron Phoenix's charitable work, and motorcycle safety demonstrations. Emma arrived with her mother, wearing her Iron Phoenix vest proudly. At 10 years old now, she'd grown taller. Her face had lost some of its haunted quality, and her smile came more easily. She was healing, slowly but surely. "Emma!" Razor called out, waving from where she was setting up a face-painting booth. "Come help me!" Emma ran over, and soon she was painting Iron Phoenix logos on children's cheeks, laughing as some of the younger kids got more paint on themselves than on the paper targets. Throughout the day, people approached Emma to thank her. Parents whose children had been helped by the Iron Phoenix's expanded charitable programs, abuse survivors who'd found courage in Emma's story, police officers and social workers who'd been inspired to work more closely with community organizations. Each person told Emma she was brave, that she'd made a difference, that she'd changed lives, and each time, Emma felt a little more of her shame and fear fall away, replaced by purpose and pride. Mid-afternoon, a woman in her 30s approached hesitantly. She had a young boy with her, maybe 7 years old, who clung to her hand and watched the world with wary eyes that Emma recognized immediately, the eyes of a child who'd known fear. "Are you Emma Holloway?" the woman asked. "Yes, ma'am." "I'm Rachel Martinez. This is my son, Daniel. We saw your story on the news. Daniel was being bullied at school. Not just teased, but serious threats from older kids. He was afraid to go to school, having panic attacks. I didn't know what to do." Emma knelt down to Daniel's level. "It's scary, isn't it, when someone bigger and stronger is hurting you?" Daniel nodded, tears welling up. "I was scared too," Emma said gently. "Really, really scared. But I learned something important. Being scared doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're smart enough to know when you need help, and asking for help isn't giving up. It's the bravest thing you can do." "That's what the nice man with the beard told me," Daniel said softly. Emma looked up at his mother questioningly. "After I saw your story, I contacted the Iron Phoenix," Rachel explained, her voice thick with emotion. Bear and some of the other members started escorting Daniel to school. Just their presence, motorcycles in the parking lot, these big, intimidating bikers walking Daniel to his classroom, the bullying stopped immediately. But more than that, they gave Daniel something I couldn't give him. They made him feel protected. "They taught me that I don't have to be big to be brave," Daniel added, his voice gaining confidence. "Bear says being brave means doing the right thing even when you're scared. Just like you did." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. Her story, her terror and her courage had helped this little boy, had given him hope, had shown him that monsters could be defeated and that heroes really did exist. "You're very brave, Daniel," Emma said, hugging him. And you've got good people protecting you now. The Iron Phoenix, they're the best." As the day continued, Emma saw more examples of the Iron Phoenix's expanding impact. There was a booth collecting donations for a women's shelter the club had helped establish. Another booth registering volunteers for their new program, escorting domestic violence victims to court hearings. Yet another promoting partnerships with local schools to address bullying and violence. The Iron Phoenix had always done good work, but Emma's case had brought them into the spotlight and amplified their reach exponentially. They'd inspired other motorcycle clubs across the country to start similar protective programs. The model they'd pioneered, bikers as guardians for vulnerable children, was spreading nationwide. As sunset approached and the event was winding down, Bear gathered Emma, Sarah, and the core Iron Phoenix members who'd been involved in Emma's protection. They sat in a circle on the grass, watching the Arizona sky turn shades of orange and purple. "I've been thinking a lot about that day you ran into Rosie's cafe," Bear said to Emma. "About what made you trust us. A scared little girl seeing a bunch of rough-looking bikers and deciding we were the ones to ask for help." "I saw past your outside," Emma said. "Derek taught me that the scariest monsters look like normal people. So maybe the people who look scary on the outside could be good on the inside. I figured it was worth the risk." "You took a chance on us," Razor said, "and in doing so, you reminded us why we do this. We ride because we're free. But we protect because everyone deserves to feel safe in that freedom." Preach nodded thoughtfully. "You know, I used to preach about redemption, about how people could rise above their circumstances and become better versions of themselves. But Emma, you taught me something new. Sometimes redemption isn't about changing yourself. Sometimes it's about showing the world who you really were all along." "The Iron Phoenix was always about protection and justice," Wrench added. "But we were underground, misunderstood. Emma gave us a chance to show people our true purpose. She redeemed our reputation simply by trusting us." "And you all gave me my life back," Emma said, her voice strong and clear. "You showed me that I don't have to be afraid anymore, that I can stand up to bad people, that I'm strong enough to protect myself and maybe even help protect other people." Sarah wiped away tears. "I can never thank you all enough for saving my daughter. For saving both of us, really. You gave us a future we didn't think we'd have." Bear pulled out a newspaper from that morning. The headline read, "Emma's Law Passes State Legislature. Mandatory Training for Officers on Child Witness Protection." This law, Bear said, mandates that police officers receive specialized training on protecting child witnesses in criminal cases. It creates protocols for working with community organizations to provide enhanced security. It allocates funding for witness protection programs, and it's named after you, Emma. Emma's eyes widened. "After me?" "Your courage inspired lawmakers to action," Bear explained. "What happened to you? A child witness being threatened, corrupt cops trying to silence you should never happen again. This law is going to protect kids all over Arizona, maybe eventually all over the country." Emma looked at the newspaper, seeing her own face, the courthouse photo of her flanked by Iron Phoenix members accompanying the article. She thought about all the children who might be helped by this law, all the kids who would have better protection because of what she'd endured. "Did I really do that?" she asked quietly. "You did that?" Preach confirmed, "by being brave enough to speak up, by trusting us, by telling the truth no matter how scared you were. You changed the world, Emma Grace Holloway." That evening, as the park emptied and the Iron Phoenix members prepared to ride home, Emma stood with Bear by his motorcycle. The setting sun cast long shadows and the cooling air carried the scent of desert sage. "Bear, can I ask you something?" Emma said. "Anything, brave girl. Why did you help me that day? You didn't know me. You didn't owe me anything. You could have just sent me away." Bear was quiet for a long moment, his weathered face thoughtful. I was 12 years old when my father started beating my mother. I was too small, too weak to protect her. I tried once, and he put me in the hospital. I felt helpless, powerless. Eventually, my mother found the courage to leave, but those years, they left scars. He looked down at Emma with eyes that held old pain, but also wisdom. When I grew up, I promised myself I'd never let anyone feel that helpless if I could prevent it. The Iron Phoenix became my way of keeping that promise. So when you ran into that cafe, terrified and desperate, I saw myself. I saw every scared kid who ever needed someone bigger and stronger to stand between them and the monsters. "You're a good person, Bear," Emma said simply. "I'm just a person who tries to do right when the moment comes," Bear replied. "Same as you, same as everyone here. We're not superheroes, Emma. We're ordinary people who decided that protecting the innocent mattered more than being comfortable or safe. I want to be like that when I grow up," Emma said. "I want to help people who are scared." "You already are helping people," Bear said. "Your story, your courage. It's inspiring people to be braver, to stand up against injustice, to protect those who need protecting. You're already making a difference, and you're only 10 years old. Imagine what you'll accomplish with a whole lifetime ahead of you." Emma smiled, and it was a smile of pure joy. The smile of a child who'd walked through darkness and emerged into light, scarred but unbroken, frightened but not defeated. As the Iron Phoenix members mounted their motorcycles and engines roared to life, Emma watched them prepare to ride. These unlikely heroes, these gentle warriors, these flawed but beautiful people who'd saved her life. Bear started his bike. The engines rumbled deep and powerful. He looked back at Emma one more time and gave her a thumbs up. Emma returned the gesture, grinning. The motorcycles pulled out in formation, a river of chrome and leather flowing through the parking lot. Their engines echoed across the desert, a sound that would forever mean safety and protection to Emma Grace Holloway. Sarah put her arm around Emma as they watched the Iron Phoenix disappear into the gathering dusk. "You know what's amazing?" Sarah said. 6 months ago we had nothing. We were trapped, terrified, hopeless. And now look at us. We're free, we're safe, we have a future. "We have family," Emma corrected, gesturing to the fading motorcycles. "A really big, really loud, really wonderful family." Sarah laughed, truly laughed, for the first time in years. "Yes, we do." 3 years later, Emma Grace Holloway stood in the Ridgewood Springs Middle School auditorium, preparing to give a presentation to her 8th grade class. She was 13 now, taller and more confident, with the bearing of someone who'd faced real danger and survived. Her topic, real heroes in our community. On the screen behind her was a photograph of the Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club, all 73 members who'd protected her that crucial week 3 years ago. In the center of the photo stood Emma herself at age 9, wearing her Iron Phoenix vest flanked by Bear and Razor. When most people think of heroes, they think of superheroes from movies or famous people, Emma began, her voice clear and strong. But real heroes are ordinary people who make extraordinary choices. They're people who see someone in trouble and decide to help, even when it's dangerous or difficult. She told her classmates her story, not for sympathy, but as an illustration of courage, community, and the power of ordinary people to create extraordinary change. "The Iron Phoenix Motorcycle Club taught me that you can't judge people by how they look," Emma continued. "They taught me that real strength is protecting those weaker than yourself. They taught me that family isn't just blood, it's the people who stand by you when you need them most." She clicked to the next slide, showing recent photos of the Iron Phoenix's community work, escorting abuse victims to court, volunteering at shelters, raising money for children's hospitals, working with police on community safety initiatives. Because of what happened to me, the Iron Phoenix became famous, but they didn't let that fame change them. They're still the same people who helped a scared little girl in a cafe 3 years ago. They just help more people now. The final slide showed Emma's law, now adopted by 12 states, with legislation pending in 15 more. Sometimes one person standing up for what's right can change everything, Emma concluded. Sometimes asking for help is the bravest thing you can do. And sometimes the people who look scariest are actually the ones who'll risk everything to keep you safe. The auditorium erupted in applause. Emma's teacher, Mrs. Jennifer Brennan, Detective Chen's wife, who'd moved to education after years of social work, had tears in her eyes. After the presentation, Emma's classmates gathered around her with questions. But Emma noticed one girl hanging back, a quiet 7th grader named Sophia, who always sat alone at lunch, who wore long sleeves even in the Arizona heat, whose eyes held that familiar wariness. Emma excused herself from the group and approached Sophia gently. "Hey," Emma said, "I'm Emma." "I know," Sophia replied softly. "Everyone knows who you are. Can I tell you something?" Emma moved closer, lowering her voice. "If you ever need help with anything, you can talk to me, or to Mrs. Brennan, or you can call the Iron Phoenix directly. They help kids who are in trouble. No questions asked, no judgment." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "How did you know?" "I've been where you are," Emma said gently. "And I promise you it gets better, but you have to ask for help. You have to be brave enough to tell someone." "I'm scared," Sophia whispered. "Being scared is okay. It means you're smart enough to know when something's wrong, but you don't have to be scared alone anymore." Emma pulled out a card from her backpack, one of the Iron Phoenix information cards they'd started distributing at schools. On the back, she wrote her own phone number. "Call me anytime, day or night. I'll help you, or I'll get someone who can. You're not alone, Sophia." That afternoon, Sophia did call, and Emma, with the help of Mrs. Brennan, Detective Chen, and yes, the Iron Phoenix, helped get Sophia and her younger siblings out of an abusive home situation. It took time, it took courage, but it worked. Emma was 13 years old, and she'd already saved a life, just like the Iron Phoenix had saved hers. On a warm Saturday evening in May, the Iron Phoenix held their annual charity ride, a 100-mile trek through Arizona, with proceeds going to children's services and domestic violence prevention. Hundreds of motorcycles participated, the event having grown into one of the largest charity rides in the state. Emma rode behind Bear on his Harley, her arms wrapped around his waist, the wind rushing past, the desert stretching endlessly in every direction. She felt free, powerful, alive. At the ride's endpoint, there was a ceremony honoring community heroes. Emma presented the first annual Iron Phoenix Courage Award to Sophia, who testified against her abusive father and helped get her siblings to safety. As Sophia accepted the award, a small phoenix pendant on a chain, with tears streaming down her face, Emma thought about how far she'd come. From a terrified 9-year-old running for her life to a young woman helping others find their own courage. That night, as the stars emerged over the Arizona desert and motorcycles rumbled through the darkness, Emma stood with her Iron Phoenix family and thought about the future. She would continue to heal. She would grow stronger. She would use her voice and her story to help others. And someday, when she was old enough, she'd get her own motorcycle and ride with the Iron Phoenix, not as a protected child, but as a full member, a warrior in her own right. The little girl who'd been saved had become a young woman who saved others. The phoenix had risen from the ashes, reborn in fire, beautiful and unbreakable, and the world was better for it.